everyone, it's Tammy at Frou-frou Studio. Welcome back for the hashtag Moss in the Scrapbook Challenge, a scrap busting ephemera challenge hosted by Release the Craftin'. Today I am going to be doing day 23 and day 24 to get myself caught back up. And so today the prompts are vintage and quilt. And I'm going to concentrate more on the vintage and then show you some of the things that I have for quilt. Simply because if you remember and you have been following me throughout this challenge, one of the ephemera pieces that I made early on, if I grab my box here, my box of goodies, was a quilted belly band, a quilt belly band out of my cutter quilt. And so, what did I do with it? I know it's in here. Here it is. So I had created this earlier for one of the other prompts. And so I didn't want to repeat, you know, something I had already done. So I did make some little quilt pieces that I will show you. I'm not going to use them all in this journal, but since I was working on it, then I went ahead and did some other pieces that I can use if I need to. So what I did is I have a digital that is quilts, and so I made 3 types of envelopes, and then I took my cutter quilt and I made these little crude hearts to put on. This one's a coin envelope, and it has a little crude heart that I made. I got strings everywhere. Just to hold the flap down, and it's heavy enough with a button that it's going to hold it down, that I'm not going to worry about putting any kind of closure or anything on it. So I've got that one. And then I've got this one, which is a regular size envelope. And the way that I did it, and I really like the way this came out, and I wish I had done this before I did this, and I would have done it the same way, but I crumbled the paper up and unfolded it and did it again and unfolded it, and so now it's really soft, more like fabric than paper. And then I just took a piece of little vintage linen and stitched on here and made another little crude heart to put on that one. And then the last thing that I made was a faux kind of CD envelope that has the acetate in it. And again, I wish I had done the crumpled up one before I did this one, but I still like this really well. So I'm going to reserve these, and if I need them in the journal, then I will use them. Otherwise, I'll put them in my stash, because I know that I will use these in another journal, because I have a tendency to do a lot of journals that are vintage sewing, vintage attic, you know, that type of thing, that I'll be able to use these in. So I'm not worried necessarily about using them in this particular journal. So we're going to move on to the vintage pieces, and I am going to show you a couple of vintage makes, and one of them does have one of these crude little hearts. So I'll kind of be covering the quilt thing in one of the makes besides these. So, but like I said, this was very easy to do. If you don't have a cutter quilt, this is a really good option. But like I said, this is my favorite because I did crumble it and it's more like fabric. So that just gives you some ideas of something that you can do to get a quilt effect if you don't have a cutter quilt or you don't want the bulkiness of a true quilt. So I'm going to put those in my box over here. And we're going to get on to today's makes, which like I said, are vintage. So I have two different makes for vintage. And I'm going to do this one first, I think. So I took out some vintage ephemera that I have. In my stash. And I did photocopies because I only have ones of these things, and I didn't want to use the originals, but I'm going to bring the originals out so you can see that I actually do have them. So I just went through and got some things that I thought kind of worked together, and they're like receipts and things like that. This one's from 1908 from the Pennsylvania Railroad Company. This one's 1930, and it's a receipt. I've got this from 1916. That's a receipt for the order of the SAPW. Supreme Knights of Pisces, it looks like. Whatever that is. And then I have this partial railway system. It's a receipt for a railroad ticket, it looks like. And then I have these little tokens that were used in mines and factories, railroads. They gave them these instead of actual money, so they could take these to the stores that were run by the mine or the railroad and use them to purchase their groceries or whatever they needed to. So I took all that and ran a copy of it, and then that's what I'm going to make my make out of, because I didn't want to use my originals. So here are my copies, and I also have a time card, which is a new time card, but we're going to make it look old. And then this is the Tim Holtz photo that I've got a couple of, a ticket and a number on, and you can see that I've aged it. So that's what we're going to do. And here's my little receipt. So the first thing we need to do is make this look as old as these things look. So I'm going to start off by inking it, of course, and it's going to be too long. I think I'm going to cut it right here after day number 5. No, I'm going to cut it right after where it says this side out, to make it a little shorter. Otherwise, it's going to be too long for my pocket. And then we will age it up, and I can't cut a straight line, obviously. Okay. So it just started snowing here, guys. It looks like we're going to get mostly rain and sleet and freezing rain, which we were hoping that we would have more snow and stay away from the freezing stuff, but it doesn't look that way. So, but it is snowing first. And do the edges, and I'm using gathered twigs for that. And then I'm going to come in with the frayed burlap. And kind of go in further. Bend some corners. Okay, and I think I'm going to save this little piece. Whoops. I think I'm going to come in with my pencil, if I can find it, that has the coffee stains. You can tell that I love this stencil. Look how dirty it is. And let's get a brush. And I'm going to use tea dye, I believe. I don't want it to be, oops, too dark. So you can still write on it if you want. And I'm not going to do anything to the back, so you can write on the back for sure. I hope everyone is in a nice, warm, safe place and you're not out having to get out and venture on the roads in this. It's one good thing about being retired. I don't have to worry about doing that anymore. My work very rarely ever canceled during this kind of weather, so it's nice to not have to worry about getting there or getting back. Okay. So there is that. Now we need to put a name and a number on here. So I have this is a Tim Holtz number. And this would have been something that you might have found on a miner's helmet or a railroad worker's helmet to identify them. So and this one I've rested a little bit. So I'm going to take these out and then I'll put them back in. I put them in there so I wouldn't lose them. Where'd the other one go? See, I've already lost one. And I'm not even started yet. And I want to put it right up here in the corner. Where's my all? There it is. And then I'm going to put this back in there. Oh, it went, excuse the reach, it went way over there. Okay. So we know the number is 257, so we can put a 257 right there, and then I want to put a date. So, not thinking ahead, I did not grab my number stamps. So, let me do that. Okay. And we're going to put a 257 on there. Hopefully I can hold these together. Well, I think I'm just going to do them individually. And I'm going to do black archival ink. This is not going to be perfect by any means. I'm going to get it as straight as I can. Oh, that's pretty dang good. I'll take it. Alright, and then we need to give them a name. So I'm going to get my signatures from the past. Stamps. Let's see if I can find... Will this one fit? That one's a little long. I think this one will work. I'll have to just squish it over a little bit. I could take that bottom one back out and kind of swing it around out of the way till I get my signature on there. Hopefully I won't lose it this time. Okay. This one I have not used, believe it or not. So we'll stamp it on something else first. Make sure it's going to be all right. Oops. Paper flying everywhere. Yeah. I need to do that a couple of times. I don't think it's because it's on the squishy box. Let's try it on the harder surface. That's better. Here we go. And we can put this back. Okay, so now Mr. John Perry is ready to go to work for the week. So now we're going to ink the rest of these. Just to get rid of the white edges from where these are photocopies. Now, what I have done is I've taken these receipts and I've folded them in half because they're going to be pockets. I know, here I am inking again, huh? You can see I'm not being gentle with this because I want it to have some places on it. Okay, so this one is going to be a pocket. So I'm going to glue it across the bottom, up the side, and fold that down. And then this one, I want to attach right here. And I'm going to use just my little mini stapler here. And staple it. And then this one is going to be a pocket, and it is going to set here like this. And again, I'm going to do across the bottom and up the side. And then I'm going to glue it here and up both sides. Just like that, except straight. Hurry. And get it moved before that glue becomes unmovable. So now what we have is we have a pocket here, and I should have inked inside there. For this little receipt, we have a pocket here for our time card to go in. So you can see we're just building our layers. And then I'm going to take the photo and I'm going to put down here at the bottom. And it will not be a pocket, so I can glue it all the way on. Just like that. Boy, that was messy. Okay, and then I'm gonna take our these little things, which the actual ones of these are very thick, like milk cap or a ATC coin is the normal thickness, if I was trying to describe how thick it is. But I just printed them on regular paper because I knew I was going to layer them up on here, and I didn't want to build too much more bulk than I already had. And I'm just going to put those kind of down here. Kind of like that. I feel like I need a red up here, some kind of stamp or something. Trying to think of what I can use. Let me see what's on my vintage stamps up here. I've got one that says industrial materials. I've got one that says motors, industrial materials. Manufacturing parts. Release. Let's do manufacturing parts. Excuse the reach. I'm gonna get my archival ink so I can do it in Barn Door. see what it stamps like. Yeah. Needs more ink. I'd say these need to be conditioned. I got them at a antique store. Yeah, that'll work. Yep, just a little hint of red. Okay. Let's get all that out of the way. And we'll do the next one. I've got one more. So yeah, I think that came out pretty good. We'll look at it again at the end. Let me put my stamp back in here. So I don't lose it. All right, for the other one, you can see I have another little crude quilt heart, and we're gonna make it like a big pocket. So this is gonna be our pocket. I'm gonna put a little thumb notch in it here. And when I put it in the journal, it's gonna be kind of a free floating pocket. So I'll use some kind of paper clip or binder clip or something like that to make sure that you can see the back, because the back of the paper is pretty too. So we're going to ink around this. We're going to make a tall journal card out of this Tim Holtz packaging. And then I've got another pocket, actually a flip out to go on the front. So let's get this pocket made. First, just going to ink around the edges on this one. This digital has quite a bit of vintage look to it already. So we're just going to do the edges. And go ahead and glue it shut so it can be drying. Can't get my pen in there. It's got a glue glob on the end. Okay. Alright, so there's my first pocket. And then this is an actual vintage letter. It's in German, and you can see it's very old. It's cracking, even with me gluing a backer on it. So I need to glue that better. And then I'm going to glue it down the side. Excuse me, down the side. And across the bottom. Oh no, I didn't want to do that. Did I just scare you? If I did, I apologize. This is gonna flip open. I don't want that to glue at all. Sorry, you had to get a drink of my tea. I was getting a bit of a tickle there. I want this to flip open. So I'm going to glue it here so it'll flip open and you can write on the inside. Forgot what I was doing. Alright, so to decorate the front of this, I've got this digital, which is from the same kit the paper is. It's from the Attic Ephemera kit, which is by Sweet Pea Curiosities. And I have a piece of black lace. And this picture. In our little heart, I'm going to put it over here because her name is down here. Her name is Annabelle. And if I put it over here, it's going to cover that up. So I'm going to put it here. I'm going to have to use Fabri-Tac for that. But I can't put it so far over that this won't open. I have to keep that in mind. Ugh. Uh-oh, I just dropped it. Let me check this. I think it's sticking. Nope, it's okay. Disaster in the craft room today. And you can see this was from an actual printed quilt, but I just turned it over so it's actually the backing of the quilt, because I wanted the white side or the cream colored side instead of the print. Okay, so that's going to go there. And then I have moth, of course, that I'm going to put up here. On this paper. And then I'm going to get my pen and do the feelers because it was just too I don't know why I even still have that pen. It doesn't work, and I grab it every time. And every time I grab it, it doesn't work. Okay. Okay. All right, now we need to make our little tag to go inside. So I have two digitals. One of them is from the Attic Kit that matches this paper. And the other one is from Louisa Heinzel, and it's the one of her stitched papers. So I'm going to get it closer to size first. That in the scraps. Making more scraps. I think I want it over here on the lacier side. Another scrap. That's okay. Alright, so now I think I want this on the front and then this on the back because you can write on this. Ugh, that glue sticks had it. And I probably should have sanded that a little bit, but I didn't. If I have an issue with it not sticking, I'll just use art glitter glue, and I know it'll stick with that. Okay, trim this, and then we'll do the other side. Okay, and I'm going to take my craft knife and cut this out right here before I put the paper on the other side so I can see it. It may not be perfect, but that's okay because we're going to put a ribbon in it anyway. Crinkled seam ribbon is what I'm going to use in black. Get out of there. Okay, so there's that side. Now we'll do this side. I'm finally starting to use up a lot of these Tim Holtz packages. I have had a ton of them, so it's nice to get those used up. Okay, trim this one. Okay, there's that one. I didn't get that edge. Toe. Oh my goodness, if I knock one more thing on the floor today, it's gonna make me lose my mind. It's all that I've been doing all day and it's my fault because I set it right on the edge. And it rolls off. Okay, more ink. I've got to trim a little hole on this side. Lily just came up here, my elderly puppy. This is normally the time that she is outside. She gets fed and goes outside, but she is a fair weather dog. She doesn't like the bad weather, so she probably went right out there and did her business and came right back in the house. You know, the other one would just soon stay outside in a blizzard. But she's only 2, so she doesn't know any better. Okay. So there we go. There's our large card for our big pocket. Let me pick up my glue stick that rolled on the floor. Okay, and like I said, I've got a piece of crinkled seam ribbon. I'm going to put it through here. And I think I'm going to tie a bow. I don't do bows a whole lot. We'll do a bow and see if I'm happy with it. And yes, I tie my bows upside down because I'm left-handed. That way they come out being correct. Yeah, I think that'll work. Trim the tails off a little bit. Okay, now I can glue this down. just like that. So then you can flip this open and write in it. And then this one, go down in here. Just like that. So there we go. There are two vintage makes, kind of a quilt make, and then I showed you my quilt envelopes. So that gets us caught back up to where we need to be. And so we'll be ready for tomorrow's prompt. And tomorrow's prompt, I believe, is couples. See on the list, but I believe it's couples. Yep. So that could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. Of course, you could have, you know, a couple. You could have a pair of something, which to me is also a couple. So we'll see. I'm kind of thinking wedding, because I don't have anything wedding in my journal yet. And I'm thinking that in an attic, you're bound to see somebody's wedding pictures, don't you think? So I think that's where I'll go with it, but we'll see. So thanks for joining me. And again, I hope everyone is safe and warm and that you don't have to get out. And if you do have to get out, please be careful. And I will see everyone back tomorrow. Bye.